At some point, marriage quietly shifts. The kids get older, the house gets quieter, and the roles we played for years start to loosen up a bit. Suddenly, you look at the person you've built a life with and think, where are we now? Today, we're talking about marriage and midlife. Not the Pinterest version, not the highlight reel, but the honest work of recoupling, reconnecting, and learning how to date your spouse again in this season of midlife.
Welcome to Letting Go Loudly, the podcast you never knew you needed. We're your hosts, Leah Lanham and Heather Hetchler, two midlife women, two certified coaches, and two friends who finally got tired of living by rules we never agreed to. Around here, quiet compliance is officially canceled. We're letting go loudly, and we're taking you with us. Now back to our show.
So, Leah, I think this is a hot topic, one that we hear from our clients, and it's a season, it's a transition. So, for many people that are married, the kids grow up, and oftentimes couples look at each other like, "Where are we now? Who are we now?" Because their parenting role has become such a part of them. So much time has been taken up running kids to practice, going to events, and then the house grows quiet. So, what do you think actually changes in a marriage when the kids get older or leave the house?
Well, that's funny that you asked that because I just celebrated my 31st anniversary yesterday with my
Yay.
husband. So I can't say we've done everything right to stay at that because there have definitely been some ups and downs in our marriage throughout having small children to teenagers to adult children. But what I think is important to realize is that when your kids are grown and gone, they are still your kids and they are still needing of you to help them become adult children. Even if they're not living with you, they're still coming back for that, maybe that acknowledgement and maybe some advice. And I just think that we need to be open to that and realize like our marriage is changing a little bit. We have a lot more time to ourselves, which has been great, but we also need to we need to keep that sacred a little bit because sometimes the kids will think they can just pop in or whatever. And, think they really need to know that, okay, we have things that we do now. We're not just, mom and dad to go over and run over all the time, which we love to have our kids over. But I think we need to create that little separation there that mom and dad, have a life as well. And we love watching you get older, and become your own adult and your own family.
Yeah. And I think sometimes too for marriage and midlife, especially once couples become empty nesters, that there can be an identity shift in the marriage. So oftentimes, especially what I see in my practice is that both the husband and the wife, sometimes they're experiencing it differently. One person might be super excited to have their spouse back for themselves, right? They have the freedom to go and do things. My husband loves to call it dating with money because now
Oh,
we're,
yeah.
we're at a time in our life where we have more disposable income. We're, healthy. We can go do things, but then sometimes for one of the partners, it's, a grieving because so much of their identity has been a part of taking care of the kids, hosting friends over, doing all the stuff. And now that part is gone. And so really choosing how to reframe this season to look at it as an opportunity to date your spouse if you've kind of gotten out of the habit, to enjoy your spouse, to get to know your spouse again, and to give yourself space to grieve some things that are changing
Mhm.
because it can be hard. But I think it's really important to not put your happiness or your identity onto your children. It's not their responsibility to keep you happy. You were married first, and that marriage has to be at the core. And I think that
Yeah,
that's what happens sometimes is the marriage loses its
that gets
focus. It
lost.
gets lost.
Mhm.
And it's not, I think, by choice,
Yeah.
but it's the busyness, it's the schedules, and then you have that opportunity to re-nourish your marriage. And when you can think about it that way, I think it can really change the way you and your spouse experience it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that, when my kids left the coop, flew the coop, I still have one coming home
Yeah.
here and there that's in college, but I feel like my husband actually grieved more than I did. He was really involved with my sons, all of their sports and everything. And when that ended at high school, he was like, okay. now what? Like I don't have these sports to go to every week and I don't have all these things to do and I'm not busy and the boys aren't asking me for, advice on this stuff. Well, my one son ended up going on to be a coach. So that's helped because he goes to all these things
Yeah.
now. It's just extended the time. But yeah, he really grieved that a lot. I think it was hard on him not having anybody, dependent on him as heavily. So yeah, I think that you do have to look in the mirror and think, okay, this is reality. Where do we go from here? You can't grieve for too long because you have to make changes and move forward. And so we've decided that we do a date night probably every couple weeks
Mhm.
where we go out and we'll just talk as adults like we should have been
Yeah.
doing all of these
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
but you're so busy. You're just going through the motions and you might have a quick bite to eat with your husband every once in a while just to fill each other in on the next thing you're doing with the kids. But now you have all this time and you can plan and you can figure your rest of your life out,
Yeah.
which is great. I
It
think
is.
it's so worthwhile.
And I think one thing I wanted to address is I think sometimes too in our culture, it's almost like, we call it the empty nest, right? Well, empty it has kind of a negative connotation. So it's almost like you're not allowed to enjoy this season. Like you should be so down. And I remember, my husband and we're remarried. So we're a blended family and it's a whole different dynamic. And when we remarried, we had 6 kids and people always told us the honeymoon comes after the kids leave because you're getting
True.
married with kids, right? You're
Right.
never really, we never had that time to bond without children around.
Right.
And that's nothing, we love our kids. But so we were very intentional through the years to date each other, to pour into our marriage, to really make that solid, especially when you're navigating a lot of blended. So when the kids left, I'm like, I miss them, but I'm not gonna sit around and cry. Like they are doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
We raised them to be functioning adults. Instead
Right.
of grieving like that they're gone, I'm celebrating where they are. And so we really started to do things and we actually got some flack from people like, I can't believe you're so happy your kids are gone. And I'm like, stop.
That's
I'm
healthy.
not happy my kids are gone.
Right.
I'm choosing not to wallow in their
Right.
absence.
And that's so healthy. You're
And
looking, you can take it both ways. You can take it either, negatively or
yes,
positively. And you're
it's
looking
how
at
you view it.
we've raised
Yeah.
them and they're taking off and this is good.
Yeah.
This
And
is
now
what
we're
we've
gonna
done.
enjoy,
Right.
ourselves. And I think that
Right.
I'm not gonna feel guilty. And I remember being at a graduation party, it was like maybe 2 years ago, and I was just talking to the person in front of me at the buffet or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna go through this next year, and it's gonna be so terrible." And I'm like, "You know what? The emptiness can actually be a lot of fun." And they looked at me and they're like, "Not for us. We like our kids." And I thought, "Ooh, that was a little sharp." I didn't, I was
Yeah.
trying to be encouraging.
Of course we
And I
all
said,
like our
"Well,
kids.
I love my kids too, and I'm choosing to enjoy the time that I have with my spouse."
Right.
And I always I like to, I know it's not really a joke, but I say, I don't just love my husband, I like him. I like spending time with him, and I feel like we're learning each other all over again. And so I know today we were going to talk about like some fun date nights because there might be some women listening to this that are like, yes, my husband and I feel super connected. We're enjoying this season. And then
Right.
there may be some women that are listening in and like, I'm barely getting through.
Right.
I feel like we became roommates. I feel like I don't know my spouse. I feel like he doesn't know me, and we are roommates. And so I want,
Like
we're
how do we
yeah,
reconnect?
how do we
How do we get
reconnect and how do
yeah.
we get back to that place? And it takes one person to kind of
Yeah.
raise the bar.
Yep.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about like what is that reset? What do you think we can encourage women in terms of like some of the things that we're doing, but how can they reset? How can they grow closer? Let's talk about kind of reframing this season to encourage and empower them.
Yeah. Well, I think definitely dating, just making a set date for conversation, whether it's at a dinner or something, just setting aside time to spend with that person. Because
Mhm.
we're so used to running and doing and, that we don't really take the time to sit down and have that connection. And I think that's really a great starting point to find out who this person you're married to is. especially if you feel disconnected.
Yeah, and your likes and
Who
your
is
hobbies
this?
change, so you
Right,
can start new hobbies together,
right.
or you can listen, or like sometimes there's things that they like to do. Like as much as my husband is in the corporate world, he he loves to get on his four-wheeler and get muddy and do all the stuff. And
Okay.
like I am not
Do not do
typically
that.
like a muddy girl, but I have learned. I'm like, you know what? I can put on my dress clothes and walk the city, and I can put on my flannel and get on the back. And you know what? Like, okay, I wasn't planning on going here, but like I actually love being on the back of the four-wheeler, hugging him, burying my face in his back, and just ripping it through the
Trusting.
yeah, and ripping through the mud, and you know what?
Right,
He loves that I love it with him.
right,
And now he's enjoying, which I can't believe I'm saying this, going to plays with me and museums, which is something he never liked doing, but he loves the joy I have in that,
right,
and I've come to love the joy that he derives from a lot of this, outdoor stuff that
right.
I was not normally
And you
part
bring up
of.
a good point
Yeah.
because a lot of times we are unwilling to go that way with our spouse. Like my husband loves to golf. I'm not saying that I love to golf,
Yeah.
but I have taken some lessons and
Mhm.
I thought, you know what? I love to be outside. I'll ride on the cart. I'll hit a couple balls. I'm going to do
Yeah.
that with him so that we can be together
Yeah.
doing something. And I'm sure he doesn't love going to the ballet.
Yeah.
And you know what? He will though, because I love that. So there's
Yeah.
you just it's a give and take. And for a long time, we didn't have to think about things like
No,
that
because you had the
because we were,
kids.
right,
Yep.
we're running kids around and we're doing this for the kids. Everything was for the children. And now we're back at square one. Like, okay,
Yeah, you're
where
kind
are
of
we?
rebuilding
Yeah,
and you get a chance to redefine who you
yeah,
are and where you are. And
yeah,
you bring up a great point. I think sometimes we forget to have fun. We
yeah,
forget to have fun. We forget to laugh. We
yeah.
forget to do things that are silly and laughing
And
bonds.
fun.
Yes,
Yeah,
it bonds you.
it
It really
does.
does.
Yeah.
One of the things that and so my husband and I are committed to like trying to put the fun in. And we're going to share some ideas here, but one thing that I love that he does is we have one of those Alexas in our house. And, we play music and things. And one day I was, getting dinner ready and he was on his way home. And all of a sudden, like one of our favorite songs starts playing on Alexa. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, now she's in my head. She knows what music I like. Well, it was my husband playing it. He put it on
How
from
did
in
he
the
do it?
car. You
Oh, I
can,
didn't know you
he
could
has an
do
app. I
that.
know. And so he started doing this when he would come home, he would put a fun song on. And it melted my heart because I thought he's taken the time.
Yeah,
He'd pick a fun song or something, or maybe,
that you like together.
yes, and or something I liked, and it would just randomly come on, and so I would know he's probably a few minutes out,
Right,
and it was just a fun thing that he did, and it just made me feel seen and
right.
heard and like, I don't know, I love that. Maybe someone
Yeah,
would be like, "That is dorky and stupid," but
right.
I liked it,
Yep.
and it made me feel like he knows me, he knows what speaks to me, and I appreciated it.
Mhm. Yeah, that's great, and it was fun and it was easy,
Yes,
right?
yeah, and then I'm
Didn't
dancing in the
cost any
kitchen
money,
when he comes
right.
home, and I'm probably not gonna, like and maybe he had an ulterior motive because sometimes when he comes home, I always wanna, like, download my day, especially if I
Right.
haven't talked to humans or,
Mhm.
and, but now I'm, like, dancing, and it creates a fun atmosphere to
Right.
kind of re-enter each other's lives
Yeah,
at the end of the workday.
yeah, I agree.
So,
That's nice, and I like the whole surprise,
yes.
that's like a
Yeah.
surprise. So, what we do sometimes is, like, when Chris is out and he travels quite a bit with work, and he'll come home, and I'll have, like, either a meal ready. I'll talk to him on his drive home, but I'll try to get the timing perfect. "Oh, what's your ETA?" In the car, and he'll tell me. I'll have everything ready for a dinner and a calm evening, and because I know he's
Yeah.
stressed on the road, and I'll just have it ready for him. And then when he walks through the door, he can smell food. He's a
That's
food guy.
nice, yeah. Oh, yeah, I think
So it's
I
all
think
about
men,
food.
I know I went to I'll say it that way, it was actually a Christian, workshop once, and the speaker said, "This is what I tell my wife, show up naked with food. That's what I want." And I looked at my husband, he's nodding his head, and I'm like, "It's true, right?" And it's like, no matter how old you are, but
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
I love that this was like a major speaker at a
Oh,
Christian,
yeah.
conference, but saying like, "You're right, you know the way
These
your
are
husband's
basic
heart."
human
Yes, yes.
things that
Yes.
desires. Men have certain desires, women have certain
Yes.
desires.
And
If I came home and the house was clean
yes, that's
and the
your
kitchen
way.
was
Yes.
done, I was, and I love that.
Then
When
you'd
I'm
want
gone,
to,
he does
you'd
that.
feel the intimacy. And I think that was the
Exactly.
question I was going to ask too, is like,
It's the
we
little
hear
things.
this from clients, like, well, the intimacy starts to change as we get older.
Right.
The intimacy, the connection. And I see a connection with being together and having fun and feeling intimately connected. Because I think for women, uh, to be intimate, we need to feel emotionally connected.
Absolutely.
And as we age or we're more involved with our kids, or we feel like, it happens, I think just it can be a general fade. But if we're not intentional to nurture the marriage, women can begin to feel lonely.
Hmm.
They can begin to feel unseen or unknown. And when a woman feels lonely in her marriage or a woman feels unseen, she doesn't feel the desire to be intimate. And I think for men, that desire to be intimate is his way of connecting to his wife.
Right.
So that can become kind of a tender spot for couples.
Yeah.
So, what is your take a little bit on just in general, the
Just send
role of the relationship that dating and intentional nourishing can help bring back the spark or the intimacy or the connection for couples?
Well, I just think the time involved and invested
Yeah.
in just talking with your spouse can sometimes you'll realize, wow, they do love me.
Yeah. Yes.
It's not
Yeah.
just about, sexual or,
Mhm.
having to be with that person all the time. It's not that. It's more in depth. And then when you start talking, it's like, oh, I feel like this is why I married this
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
really great guy.
Yes. Yes.
And just giving it that time and just realizing like, okay. And I think you can over all the years, sometimes you think, oh, I when my kids are gone, you might think I'm out of here. And I think we've all been to that point. Like, I don't know if I like this guy anymore because he just, but when you're alone and the kids are gone and you can actually have a conversation and talk again, you can start to realize all the things that you loved about that person in the very beginning.
Mhm.
Because
I
why
love
would you
that.
have raised a
Yeah.
family with this person in the first place
Absolutely.
if you didn't have something that drew you to them?
Mhm. And that's a great point too, is I think sometimes we can forget to be verbally grateful for each other and to recognize the little things and to thank them and
Right.
to, like, I saw you do this. And I think there was like I was thinking about this the other day, and my husband, gets up early, he goes and plows the driveway, and then he'll plow the neighbor's driveway. And I'm like, you know what? Marry the guy that plows the driveway, that plows the neighbor's
Yeah.
driveway, that gets up, he'll scrape my car for me. I mean,
That's
those are things that, like, because he
yes.
knows I don't like doing that, and I'm
Yes.
like, I love that. And then when he comes in, I have coffee ready for him, and,
Right.
like, and same
It
thing, like,
makes you want to
yes,
do more,
yes,
right? It makes
yes,
you want to be grateful for
yes.
that.
And it's
Yeah.
just like, and I heard once too, I think it might have been at the same conference, where it's like for women, sex starts in the kitchen, which means sex starts in the morning, or intimacy starts when you feel seen and heard and touched and loved. And
Right.
it's those gentle things that your spouse can do for you that make you feel connected and want to connect physically.
Hmm.
And it's not just an act that you do at the end of the day. And
Right.
so as we begin to connect and reconnect with our spouse and thank them too, I think that husbands appreciate that, the respect and the thank you and the gratitude, and it all works together. It
Right.
all works together.
Yeah.
I know when we were first starting to talk to, we were talking about dating our spouse. So I'd love to kind of round out the episode with some practical ideas that women can use. And so whether you are being like, yep, my husband and I are connected, we love it, but I'd love some new date ideas, or yes, Heather and Leah, like we feel like we're roommates, we haven't done anything. What are some kind of just fun, basic, inexpensive things that we could throw out there that maybe we've used or our clients have used that can help couples either strengthen what is there or start to bring back the flame?
Okay. Well, I'm going to start with bringing back the flame.
All right. I love it. We're coming in hot.
Okay. I don't know if you've ever heard of Laura Korn, but she has some wonderful books about intimacy
Hmm.
and dating, and she even has some pre-planned dates in a
I
in a
love
book
that. Yeah.
where you rip them out
Hmm.
and you would actually send them through the mail to your
Okay.
spouse. So my husband and I had that book. We bought it years ago, probably 25 years
Yeah.
ago, and we still have this, and there's still some dates in
Oh,
this
I
book.
love that.
But there's they are dates you can pull out, and send, but there's some that are um naughty. There's some that are just like a date night out
Yeah.
with food, different things. But I think doing that together, like,
Yes.
and pulling one of those out and just sending it to your
Mhm.
spouse without them knowing, like
Mhm.
randomly just doing it,
Mhm.
and then you have the whole date planned out. And this gives you a script. This gives you everything that you can. I like that because
Yes.
it's fun and it's spontaneous. And I think men like spontaneity.
They
I
do.
do. I think they do. And we like it too.
Yes.
I mean, if you were whisked off your feet to go do something,
Yes.
that would be great.
I
But I think they need to know that about us.
As women, I think I'll speak for myself, but I think this it pertains. We want to be pursued. We want to be cherished. We want to be adored. We want to feel like our spouse is pursuing us. And I think our spouse wants that too. They want to feel desired. They want to
Yes.
feel pursued.
Right.
And so, I think regardless of what kind of date we're doing, like we went out last night and, my husband texted me in the morning, "Hey, babe, I'm looking forward to seeing you later tonight. I'm looking forward to going out." I still change 3 different times before I go out, and he'll be like,
Right.
now he doesn't complain because 'cause I'm like, "Babe, if I stop changing," but, like, I still like to look
Right.
nice for you. Like, and
Right.
I just
You want
enjoy
to be
dressing up and
yes.
and
Going on a
doing that.
date.
Yes.
Yeah, who
And I
doesn't like
love when
that?
he texts me that he's looking forward to things, and I'll send him a note too, and, like, then the next day, like and it's nothing that it's, like, pre-scripted, but, like, this morning, I really appreciated he had a long day at work, we still went out, so I sent him a text, I'm like, "Thanks so much for, just really enjoyed our time last night. It was so nice to try a new place, and I really
Right.
loved it." And it's just that intentionality of doing that. And somebody might be
In
listening and being like,
anticipation,
"I don't
really.
enjoy it."
Right.
But sometimes you have to if you I didn't mean to cut you off, but if you're in a place where like, I don't know if I even enjoy being out with my husband or I don't feel like I want to text them, then maybe just doing it. Sometimes the feelings can follow the actions.
Mhm.
And if you want to pour in, if you want to connect, if you want this, but you're not feeling it, honor where you are from your feelings, but I
Mhm.
would encourage you to intentionally do the texting, intentionally plan the days,
Do that.
intentionally go out, and then see how those feelings might be changing as you give yourself permission to do those things. And some of the kind of I'll say date night things we've done is when we did have that all that time together, we started this thing where when we were back, especially when we were back in Cleveland, we would find happy hours and we would go and we were like, all right, what can we get for $25? And we would like, it was like a thing where
Trying
we'd
to
like order like two or three little appetizers off the menu. And I don't drink alcohol, it's just a choice I have. And so like I would get water, he would get, a drink or two, and we would go to different places and it became kind of like a fun, like he would
like a
search for, yes,
challenge.
he would search for happy
Yeah.
hours and we'd go and it was just it was a fun thing we do. And then we got like this is probably TMI, but I'll tell you, we're in our 50s, right? So we're both on at least one or two prescriptions, and we'd go to CVS together. We'd pick up our prescriptions. We'd get that long toilet paper, receipt
Oh,
with
yeah.
like all the
Everything.
coupons. And then we'd go in and we'd see what like how little we could spend at CVS and what we could buy. Like he started
All
that,
the
but it was
things.
hilarious, like $5 off here. And it was just funny. And we'd go on the shelves and we're like, do we really need grape jelly? I don't know when it's, $2 off. And we just had fun with it. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like we're just
It's a
having fun with
challenge.
stuff
Yeah. And it is
and
fun.
looking for new places. So, there's ways to just do things and to just try to make the most of where you are in
Right.
your season. If that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
and to, when we start to look at your spouse as someone that you enjoy and you like being around, it does change. And it doesn't mean you're not going to have hard times because you and I,
Oh,
I
yeah.
like to joke that
Yeah.
like having adult kids is learning a whole different parenting book.
Yep.
Popsicles and Barbie band-aids don't fix the problems.
No.
And so you never stop being a parent.
Yeah.
And you want to be the parent that your kid calls when they need advice, but you also have to let them live their life and you have to live your life. Life is
Right.
going on. So you get to
It
choose.
keeps moving.
Yes. Are you
It's
going to
like
invest in your marriage and
right.
work on it, or are you going to sit and wallow?
Yep.
So,
It's a choice. Yeah.
yes.
It's a choice where you want to go. Definitely. And I'll tell you one of the things that we like to do. Um, just in case.
Yeah. I'll take a suggestion.
Okay, so every once in a while, we do this maybe once a quarter in a
Mhm.
year. We'll go and rent a hotel room. And we like
I
to get
like
on the
it.
4
Yeah.
lane.
Yeah.
And we'll go down, we'll rent their hotel room, we'll find a restaurant close
Mhm.
by, we'll take an Uber, we go to the restaurant, we'll have dinner, we'll come back. If they have a hot tub, we might get a room with a hot tub,
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that. But we'll just it's great. And usually the ones in the winter are the best because it's cold out, and you're inside having a
Mhm.
nice dinner, you're taking the Uber back, you're laying in a hotel room that's not yours, you don't have to clean it. It's kind of a nice
You can just focus on
cozy
each
break.
other because you're
Yeah,
in a hotel, you're not cleaning, there's
yeah,
no laundry, you don't get distracted by the housework
yeah,
because that can happen.
yeah,
I love that idea. And I think there is something about traveling with your spouse because you're experiencing a new
right,
place, whether you're doing a staycation or you're staying close to home or you're booking a ticket to Europe or you're going somewhere, like traveling and experiencing something is so bonding.
right,
It's really,
yeah.
it's really nice, and it reminds me, and as we wrap up, I'll share this with you. So my husband, I love to craft and stuff, and so he started kind of crafting to make me gifts, which makes me like. In fact, the kids make fun of it, like, "Oh, is Andy going to make you another? Like, is he going to craft you something for Christmas?" But I love it.
Oh,
And a couple years ago, he had chopped down a tree and he had taken like a stump kind of small and he had hollowed it out and he wrote our love bucket and every year at Christmas he types up little strips of paper of all the memories for the year and he put
puts
it in
it
the
in
first
the
year and then every year he fills it more so now it's overflowing we keep it on the table and we'll pick out a couple at dinner every night and we'll relive those memories and
Oh,
it's just
that's
like the
fun.
sweetest thing and it's like and it makes me realize too, like we have done so much with each other, but also like the things too, it's not always the big things you do. It's the inside
Little,
joke. It's when,
right,
you went to try and order something in Spanish and you ordered string because you don't have the words right. Like
right.
all those little things. And then to know that you captured those and it is that bonding and that connection, that language you have with each other. And I think for marriages, we have way more than that than we realize. We
Oh,
have a
yeah,
history
we
together.
have
You know what
so
I mean?
much.
And
Yeah,
we have the hard stuff. No,
yeah,
I don't think any marriage goes without some shrapnel. There,
yeah.
there's hard
Oh, yeah.
times, but it's remembering why you're with the person and it's intentionally nourishing and loving and doing the things. And so marriage in midlife can be exciting and fun and vibrant and bonding. And it's those choices that we make. And so
Right, and it's the effort. It's the
it's the
effort that we
effort.
take
Yes.
to make these things great again, you
Yes.
know? It's like taking old pictures. Chris
Mm-hmm.
and I will go through old
Mm,
pictures and just laugh. I mean, we went to high school together, so we have so many pictures of high school. And then
I
at
love
some
that.
point,
Yeah.
they all became on
Yeah.
our phones, so we don't have as many pictures, but of the ones that we do, we get those out and sometimes just laugh at some of the events that were going on in these pictures.
And it's not because you're bonding through that, right? And it's
Right.
that shared history
History.
together.
Yep.
And it's so important. So I think as we round out the episode, it's important to know that marriage in midlife isn't about going backward or fixing what's broken or what happened. It's about choosing each other again with more honesty and intention and grace than ever before. And there you have it. Another episode of Letting Go Loudly is in the books. I hope you're walking away feeling heard and encouraged and more empowered to live out your version of letting go loudly.
Remember, life can be hard and beautiful at the same time. Choose what you're ready to release and make room for the good that's already there. If this episode resonated with you, subscribe, like, share with a friend, and leave a review. It really does help us grow. Oh, and you can find us on Instagram at Letting Go Loudly, where you can connect with other women who are letting go loudly and message us with any topics you'd like us to cover. So until next time, Heather and Leah signing off and letting go loudly with you.
Bye.
Bye.